Good morning, 4:36. Turning to farm news now. Members of the Senate Agriculture Committee introduced the Voluntary Country of Origin Labeling and Trade Enhancement Act of 2015. The measure solves, they say, the retaliatory tariff threat of Canada with a voluntary program.
Essentially what this legislation does is it repeals mandatory COOL and puts a voluntary program in place. So the repeal of mandatory COOL, similar to what the House did, addresses the WTO action. And then the voluntary program maintains the Grade A label. And we talk about the Grade A label, we mean born, raised, and slaughtered in the United States. This applies to beef, to pork, and to chicken. So again, it's about addressing the issue of the WTO action and any duty or tariff in a way where we make sure that we don't have the duties or countervailing duty or the tariffs, but we still have a voluntary program and maintain the Grade A label. And if you look, that's exactly what Canada does. Canada has a voluntary program.
In May, the World Trade Organization ruled for the fourth time that the United States mandatory COOL law violates international trade agreements. Syngenta continues to play hard to get. The Swiss seed and chemical giant and its unwanted suitor, Monsanto, yesterday squabbled over an earnings report. Both sides claimed the report strengthened their case in the $45 billion takeover battle. Monsanto wants to combine its world-leading seeds business with Syngenta's own seed and pesticide company. Syngenta Chief Executive Michael Mack told a press conference at the group's Basel, Switzerland headquarters, quote, "We said no in 2011. We said no in 2012. We say no in 2015. What part of no don't they understand?" A bank analyst said the figures in the sales report, quote, might be the base for Monsanto to come up with a new offer to bring in Syngenta management back into negotiations and then come up with a higher offer price. Parts of the Corn Belt struggling with crop quality due to excessive rains. But here in the most of the valley, after an early spring, we have been blessed with some timely rains and favorable temperatures. Agronomist Adam Spellhug gives us a crop report.
You know, there's areas in Cass, Richland counties, I think maybe in the heaviest ground that took that earliest rain the hardest. So the stands were a little diminished in those areas. And then as you get into Minnesota, you know, the same thing with mostly an issue in the heavy clay soils. You know, you get outside the valley, there's some really nice looking corn. I know that Foreman area in south, they've been a little bit drier. You know, they had a lot of rain early, but they've been drier lately. So I know those guys were looking for a shot of rain. I think some of that has been kind of remedied here in the last week. So, you know, crop up north looks good. There's not as much corn up there, but the bean crop looks good. Small grains, talking to guys that have wheat and barley, they're all pretty excited here in 2-3 weeks to get after harvest. There's a pretty nice crop out there as well.
Spellhug says scout for corn rootworm, though, but this year that hasn't been too much of a problem either. But there is an insect pest that is showing up here in the valley. In fact, they are here and their numbers are increasing rapidly. It's the soybean aphid, and extension entomologists are keeping a close watch and encourage growers to do the same. Scout your fields for this yield-robbing pest. So far, the population of soybean aphids is not high everywhere, but there are a few hot spots due to some spotty recent heavy rains.
You need strong winds with it to kind of turn the leaves because they're on the underside of the leaves. But yeah, that can significantly reduce the aphid populations. And I think that's what we're seeing. You know, some areas didn't get those heavy rains, so it's been kind of spotty, the infestation. But some of our research plots are at threshold, so we're getting ready to spray this week. We're next to buckthorn, the overwintering hose, so that's kind of a key. You need to have the buckthorn nearby so the aphids don't have far to go to find the soybean field. It's right there. And we're also probably start seeing a lot of winged aphids in our plots, so that means they're probably migrating now from Iowa and southern Minnesota, where they're also seeing, you know, higher populations.
Canodal urges growers to mind the threshold recommendations before spraying because of high numbers of predatory insects or beneficial insects out there feasting on the aphids.
The threshold is an average of 250 aphids per plant on 80% incidence in the field. And we'd like to see increasing populations. And the only way you know that is to go out and scout regularly so you have some sort of baseline to tell that the population is going up. But we are seeing predators out there too, and that's obviously going to have some impact.
Jen says it's important not to spray too early because there are lots of natural enemies that feed on the soybean aphids and can keep the population down. Spraying too early will knock out everything, including the beneficial insects. The Midwestern Legislative Conference of the Council of State Governments has passed a resolution calling on 11 state attorneys general to investigate the Humane Society of the United States, an organization that, despite its name, does not run a single pet shelter, yet raises nearly $100 million a year from ads of abused dogs and cats. Now, according to HumaneWatch.org, the money instead funds a PETA-like political agenda to attack farmers, hunters, and businesses that use animals. The states covered are North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio. The Oklahoma Attorney General has an active investigation into HSUS's fundraising and has issued a consumer alert to the public. 6 Indiana state senators recently called on Indiana Attorney General to investigate HSUS. Charity Navigator, the nation's largest charity evaluator, issued a donor advisory against HSUS last year. Despite calling itself a humane society, HSUS is not affiliated with any local humane societies across America. All right, time is 4:43. Right after the break, we're checking the forecast. What's coming our way after some powerful storms overnight?